You are listening to Now That's a Good Question, a podcast series powered by SuRC, where changemakers from across the world answer your queries on sustainable lifestyle. After all, it's not just good on you, but also for the earth.
Hi, I'm Monica Kisic Aguirre, scientist, chef, and artist, and I'm a founder of Roots Radicals. I come from Peru, and I live in Berlin since the past 4 years. And I was invited today to do another episode of Now That's a Good Question powered by SuRC. And in today's episode, I'm going to be answering a few questions on how can we create a zero waste kitchen. So let us start with the first question, which is, how does a zero waste kitchen make you feel? So, I think to have a zero waste kitchen is a challenge, and it's something that we need to set sort of like different objectives to get to do that. And I'm sure that there's many people that have zero waste kitchens or that follow this challenge, serve as inspiration to others. But I think the main thing is that when we take the decision to be more aware and more conscious about our waste and to try and do something about it in our homes and in our lifestyle, that immediately brings back sensation of that we are all doing something towards our planet. And I think also a connection, and the word respect always comes with it for me, because I think it's like we're respecting our food and we're being aware of everything that we're doing at home while cooking. So yeah. And the second question would be, as a scientist, you are constantly innovating and finding better ways to make consumption of food a sustainable process. Can you share some of the ideas that are easy to implement in our kitchens? Yeah, I like this question. I actually just did like an Instagram live 2 weeks ago where we also discussed a little bit this on how different it is, obviously, from a company perspective versus a home kitchen versus a restaurant kitchen, all the things that you can do. And it shouldn't be expected that in your house you would be cooking the same way that we cook here at the Roots Radicals kitchen. So ideas and tips, I think the first thing that is really good, and one of the things that I started with, was to always keep in the fridge sort of like 2 Tupperwares, containers. It be glass as well, if you don't want to use plastic, where one keeps, let's say, like your fruit scraps, and the other one keeps your vegetable scraps. And that can be onion peels, garlic peels, I don't know, like the sides of the tomato, whatever you feel, I don't want to put this here, just keep it there over the week. And then there's always like one day a week where we plan our meals or where we have more time to cook. So what I always say, you can just, that Sunday, that week, can take all of those vegetable things that have accumulated, and on Sunday you can make like a delicious broth, add some chilies to it, add some different, maybe lemongrass, and make it like a little bit more Indonesian, or add, whatever flavors you want. And then you can make a risotto with it, you can freeze it, you can use it to cook stews. So I think that's like a really good place to start. And with the fruits, you can either make like a juice or just infuse it in water and have like a little tea. If you add some mint to it, if it's summer, you can just keep it then chilled, and you like take all the flavors, all the nutrients from there, and then you can of course compost it again. So that would be like 2 tips that I can give you. And let's move on to the next question, which is, on the quest to a zero waste kitchen, what are the 3 things one must keep in mind? Of course, upcycling is one of the 3 things. I think when we talk about zero waste, and in Roots Radicals, I always like to say that waste is actually a bountiful source of opportunities. So we should not see waste anymore as waste. I guess that's another one. The second would be then upcycling. You should see waste as opportunity, so then find different ways on how to reuse it. And the third, I think, would be always bearing in mind, when you open your fridge, see what really you need to cook with first, because sometimes we leave like a half an onion, and we cut a piece of pepper to do one thing, and then it stays there, and the celery stays there. So then there should be 1 or 2 days a week when you just open your fridge and examine your fridge, and see, okay, I should cook with this and that, and then decide on cooking with leftovers, which is actually delicious. And there's so many cultural dishes that come from next day cooking. So that would be my third tip. And I hope that helped. Another question is, can you suggest some easy swaps for a plastic-free kitchen? Well, I said one before. Instead of having Tupperwares, of course, glass is a really good alternative. They last forever, and if they break or you don't need them anymore, they can be recycled forever. So I think glass is great. Of course, I imagine everyone knows about the beeswax, but I think that one is also really good to keep things fresh and avoid the use of plastic wrap. And what would be the third? Yeah, I mean, I guess the third can be when we go grocery shopping, to be always reusing our bags and keeping them always in the same place. So after you come, you keep it there, and then you go back with the same bag, so that way we also avoid the plastic, and always get paper, of course, if necessary. And I guess I'm going to give one extra here. Another swap that I think is important is like finding a supermarket where you can buy things that are not packaged, because there are some, at least here in Berlin, some supermarkets where if you want to buy the bio, because there's both bio and conventional, the conventional can be maybe without packaging, and the bio is always packaged, no? So just make your choice. If you want bio, just go to the bio one. If you can't afford bio or you want to do conventional, just keep going there and buy without it being wrapped. And that way, you can avoid or make your own statement, that you choose, as we all make our own statements, choosing appropriately. I think this obviously moves changes in the food system in a further way. So yeah, I think more people will go plastic free in time. In Berlin, there's also, with every day, more and more with unverpackt supermarkets, which means they are without packaging. So you go with your glass, and you buy also the shampoos and other things for our bathrooms and other things without plastic and so forth. So totally recommend that. So the fifth question of today's episode is, what inspired you to start Roots Radicals? So Roots Radicals is actually my soul project. As I said at the beginning, I am a scientist, a chef, and an artist. I actually have a PhD in molecular biology and biochemistry. Then I decided to go do cooking. And while I was pursuing my, sort of like the way through how to start cooking and path, I came across with bread and sourdough and ancestral cooking. And this was really like a completely changed my life, like the way I saw food, the way I started to respect food. So years later, when it came to the moment to decide what I wanted to do with, or I wanted to make my company, I decided to start Roots Radicals with obviously the first question, that is, there is so much food waste today, and there are so many people that are hungry. So it has to be, if we're going to talk about respect of culture, respect of food, we have to also bring this along the way, and this is why we at Roots Radicals cook with rescued fruits and vegetables. We make food preservation at its most. We cook circularly, which means we are always upcycling and finding new ways, innovating in processes to find new ways of how to reuse different byproducts that normally are seen as waste, with all of the idea to the end mission, that is to reconnect people back to food. So yeah, it's been a ride, and it still will be. So it's my soul project. Let's see where it takes us. So yeah, what started as a sort of like, an idea to bring people back together and to find different ways of reconnecting us to food, has now, I started in this kitchen where I am at the moment, with only one shelf, and now I have like 10 shelves surrounding me, and we're selling in many different places. We had a beautiful brand. So, and the team is growing. We're already like 8 people. So it's like really, it has been a ride, and it's a very beautiful project that I'm happy that it's growing and that people are really embracing it, because it also means that people really do want different options to be more sustainable and find different answers in what they buy, and looking for different things. So the sixth question is, can you share your favorite zero waste recipe? It's very funny because as a chef, you always get that question, no? What's your favorite thing to cook? I guess I really love making, for example, butter and culturing my own cream first, then making butter out of it, and then using the buttermilk to make ice cream. That's one that I really love. Or using the buttermilk afterwards to ferment vegetables and use that, the whole culture that is there. It's completely circular, no? So that's like something I really love. I also make a pumpkin stew that I really like to do, and it has potatoes, it has pumpkins, but while as I peel the pumpkin and peel the potatoes, I always immediately make the broth that will feed the stew. So it's really another way of cooking circularly, and like using everything at the moment. So it's very practical. And yeah, I can't give just one. So I guess the third one that I really love, and I just did last week as well, because it's in season. It's the radishes, and using the greens as I get them home, because they can go really bad fast. I like to make a sort of pesto with them, but I actually put also tajin in it and some lemon, so it can also be as a spread, as a really nice spread for you to enjoy. So yeah, maybe this inspires you to do some of those. All right, so the last question is here, and it's one question about zero waste kitchen that made you go, now that's a good question. Aha! So that's definitely a good question. I would say it's maybe this one. Okay, so maybe more than a question that was posed to me, a challenge that I've had has been sometimes, when we get in the kitchen different ingredients, I immediately see, okay, if we're gonna do something with this, we're immediately gonna have this amount of byproduct and we would need to use it. So there was a question, a big one, when it came to banana peels, because we got a lot of bananas, and I had to think, like, okay, what do I do with all of these banana peels? And I had never really thought so much about it. But the interesting thing was that I guess when you don't have the answer to your question, you even look further. And we found ways. We candied the banana peels. We made tempura out of them. I made a kombucha with the water where we blanched them. And we found that there was like so many opportunities and beautiful things that can come out of them. So yeah, I don't know if that's the question, but I think this was like a good challenge and a good question posed to myself on how to use the peels. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Now That's a Good Question with me, Monica. It was a pleasure to give you some more advice on zero waste kitchens. And do follow me and Roots Radicals. Our social media in Instagram and Facebook is rootsradicals.berlin. So is our website, where we have a little community, and you can become a member of the community and receive even more tips about circular cooking at home and other things as we grow. And join in next Friday with another change maker. Have a beautiful day and see you.
Thank you for tuning in. See you next week with another segment of Now That's a Good Question, powered by SuRC.